I caught her in the act with my own eyes, my fiancée, my everything, wrapped around a filthy janitor in the back of a rundown gas station. In that moment, my heart didn't just break, it shattered. But you think that was the worst part? No. The real betrayal was yet to come. I always believed that trust was the strongest thing between us. 5 years together, 3 of them engaged, planning a wedding like fools planning a future that never existed. Her name was Amanda, and I was the idiot who thought I knew her. It was a Saturday afternoon. I had just finished a half-day shift at work and thought it would be a nice surprise to bring Amanda her favorite smoothie from the place across town. She loved those stupid mango blasts. I figured I'd meet her at the boutique where she worked part-time. Driving down Maple Street, I saw her car. Not at the boutique. No, it was parked behind a grimy gas station. At first, I thought maybe she was getting gas or grabbing a snack. Innocent, right? But then, I noticed how far in the back she parked, near the dumpsters, hidden from the main road. My chest tightened. Something wasn't right. I pulled over across the street and sat there for a moment, convincing myself I was paranoid. But curiosity, or maybe something deeper, dragged me across the street. I crept toward the back, heart pounding so loud I thought it would give me away. That's when I saw them. Amanda, and a man who looked like he hadn't showered in a week. He wore filthy coveralls stained with oil and grime. A janitor or a mechanic maybe, based on the heavy boots and the wrench poking out of his back pocket. His arms wrapped around her like he owned her, his hands roaming places that used to belong to me. She laughed, that light, carefree laugh I thought was mine alone, and kissed him. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. They didn't even notice me. They were too wrapped up in each other, like the world didn't exist outside their little bubble of betrayal. My smoothie dropped from my hand and splattered all over the cracked pavement. I stumbled backward, bumping into the dumpster with a loud clang. Only then did Amanda whip around. Her smile dropped. She pulled away from him so fast it almost looked like she was disgusted. But it was too late. The image was burned into my mind, her hands clutching his filthy shirt, her body pressed against his. "Michael, it's not what it looks like," she stammered, face pale. "Not what it looks like." I almost laughed. It was exactly what it looked like. I didn't say a word. I turned around and walked back to my car, hands trembling so badly I couldn't even get the keys into the ignition on the first try. She ran after me, shouting my name, but I slammed the door shut and peeled out of that parking lot, leaving her and whatever pathetic excuses she had choking in the dust. I drove aimlessly for hours, replaying the scene over and over again. How could she do this to me? To us? And with a man like that, someone who looked like he lived in the back of that gas station. But as broken as I felt, the worst was yet to come. Amanda wasn't finished with me. Not by a long shot. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my car for hours outside my apartment, hands glued to the steering wheel like I was afraid they'd shake loose and betray what was left of me. My phone buzzed nonstop. Calls, texts, voicemails, all from her. I didn't answer. I couldn't. I wasn't ready to hear her voice again. Not after what I saw. Not after the sound of her laugh, while that man touched her like I never existed. But when I finally walked into my apartment, she was already there. I froze in the doorway. Amanda sat cross-legged on the couch, wearing my hoodie like it still meant something. Her eyes were red, makeup smeared. The moment she saw me, she stood up, fast. "Michael, please," she whispered, stepping toward me. I put a hand up to stop her. "Don't," I said. My voice cracked on that single word. "I know what you think you saw." I didn't think I saw anything. I cut in. "I saw everything, Amanda. Don't insult me by pretending otherwise." She paused, then shrugged, like this was some minor thing I'd blow over. "Okay, fine. You saw it. So what now? You gonna cry about it for the next 6 months?" That hit me like a punch in the chest. "What?" I asked. Amanda crossed her arms. "You act like the victim here, but you've always been too soft. Too trusting. You never questioned me. You never challenged me. That's your problem." I blinked. "You're blaming me. For your affair?" "You made it easy," she said coldly. "You made it so easy to lie to you. You never asked where I was going, who I was with. You just assumed I'd always come back." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "So because I trusted you, I deserve this." She smirked. Actually smirked. "Honestly, yeah, you needed a wake-up call." I stared at her in disbelief. This wasn't the woman I proposed to. This wasn't the Amanda who cried when I gave her her grandmother's ring. This person in front of me looked the same, but her soul had withered into something sharp and rotten. "I was going to forgive you," I whispered. Her expression didn't even flicker. "Yeah, I know." That hurt more than the betrayal. The fact that she expected my forgiveness. That she was banking on it. That my pain was a game to her, a test I was supposed to fail just to prove how weak I really was. "You're pathetic, Michael," she added, crying in the car like some heartbroken teenager. "You're a grown man. Act like it." I don't remember grabbing the lamp off the table. I don't remember throwing it against the wall. I just remember the shattering sound and how, for once, she flinched. "Get out," I said, my voice trembling. "Right now." "You don't mean that." "Get out," I screamed. She walked to the door slowly, then turned one last time with that same smile. "Call me when you're done throwing your tantrum." And then she was gone. I sat on the floor in silence. Not because I had nothing to say, but because every part of me was screaming. I wanted to hate her. I wanted to hurt her. But more than anything, I still wanted her to come back. That was the worst part. The days after Amanda left were a blur. I drifted from work to home like a ghost, barely functioning. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her laughing with that man. Every time I tried to eat, my stomach twisted into knots. Friends called, family called, I ignored them all. I didn't want their pity. I didn't want their advice. I just wanted the buzzing in my head to stop. And for a while, it almost worked. Until the first bill arrived. A charge from the bridal shop. Over $2,000 for a dress Amanda would never wear. My name was still on the account. Her dress, her shoes, her jewelry, all billed to me. Like I was still the fool financing her fantasy life. That was the moment something inside me snapped. No more feeling sorry for myself. No more crying over someone who laughed in my face. If Amanda thought she could betray me, humiliate me, and walk away without consequences, she was about to find out exactly how wrong she was. I wasn't strong like other men. I wasn't confident or charming or powerful. But there was one thing I could do better than anyone else: obsess. And now, I was going to obsess over destroying the woman who destroyed me. First, I started gathering information. Quietly. Carefully. I pulled our shared financial records. I combed through every credit card statement, every purchase, every online order. I found receipts for cheap motels, strange restaurants far from her job, mysterious cash withdrawals. I took screenshots. I printed copies. I documented everything. Then I checked her social media. It was almost laughable how careless she had been. Posts tagged with new friends, pictures at clubs she claimed she hated, comments from men I didn't recognize, some in work uniforms, some in dirty jeans. One of them even wore a municipal sewer company jacket in his profile photo. I nearly laughed. She wasn't just cheating with a janitor. She was cheating with anyone who gave her attention. Every discovery fed the fire inside me. Next, I started working on the legal side. I met with a lawyer, not some expensive firm, but a sharp, hungry young attorney who hated cheaters almost as much as I did. She told me everything I needed to know: how to contest the bills, how to cancel joint accounts, how to protect my credit, and, most importantly, how to legally pursue damages for fraud, emotional distress, and financial abuse. But that wasn't enough. I wanted her to feel what I felt. Not just lose money, lose face. So I started preparing the second part of the plan: her reputation. Amanda had recently applied for a teaching certificate, planning to work at a private elementary school. She bragged about it all the time, how proud her parents would be when she got the job. The school's application process included a morality clause, one that strictly prohibited behavior that could bring disrepute to the institution. All it would take was the right evidence in the right hands. And I had plenty of evidence. Emails, pictures, financial records, social media screenshots. I organized everything into a neat little file on a flash drive labeled simply, Amanda's Truth. The plan was forming faster now. Every sleepless night sharpened it. Every memory of her smug smile fueled it. I didn't want her back anymore. I didn't even want her to apologize. I wanted her to beg. And by the time I was done, she would. I waited 2 more weeks before making my move. I needed patience. Amanda was still too comfortable. I saw it in the way she posted on social media, fake smiles, vague captions about healing and moving forward. She wanted sympathy. She wanted people to think I was the problem, that I was the one who broke down and drove her away. But I knew her game. And now, I was playing mine. The first strike had to be clean, quiet, precise. I started with the wedding vendors. I contacted every single one of them: the florist, the caterer, the venue, the dress boutique. Most of the accounts were under both our names, But the payments? Mostly mine. So I sent documentation proving my financial contributions, along with a simple statement. The wedding was canceled due to infidelity. The bride cheated. Refunds should be processed accordingly. Some vendors complied without pushback. Others stalled. But a few? They called Amanda. And that's when I knew it had started. I got a text from her the next morning. One line. "What the hell are you doing?" I didn't answer. That silence was more powerful than anything I could say. Later that afternoon, I struck again, this time with the teaching job. I didn't send anything directly. That would have been reckless. No, I mailed an anonymous package to the hiring board of the school she'd applied to. Inside, a copy of her social media posts, motel receipts, and a few screenshots of private messages I'd intercepted while we still lived together. Messages from men she claimed were just friends. Some of them included pictures. None of them were appropriate. I included no return address. No signature. Just a note. Thought you should know what kind of person you're about to hire. A few days later, her Instagram went dark. I knew she got the call. Then came the credit cards. I had closed our joint accounts, but she didn't realize I had also flagged 3 of her individual ones, the ones I knew she opened using my income as a co-signer back when we were still planning the wedding. I sent reports to the banks, citing fraudulent activity. Within a week, 2 of them were frozen. Her little shopping sprees? Over. But the most satisfying hit? I filed a small claims court suit. I sued her for the money I had spent on the wedding, citing deception, emotional distress, and fraud. I attached every receipt, every text message where she claimed to be loyal, every document showing my payments. It wasn't a massive lawsuit, but it was enough to force her to respond. Enough to drag her into court and make her stand there while a judge read the words. This suit alleges that the defendant engaged in deceptive conduct in a romantic partnership resulting in financial loss. When the court summons landed in her mailbox, I got a phone call within hours. Blocked number. I answered anyway. "Are you insane?" She screamed. "You're suing me? You're trying to ruin my life?" I didn't yell. I didn't say anything cruel. I just said, "I told you there would be consequences." And then I hung up. It was the first time since all this began that I felt something close to peace. Not joy, not pride, but control. For the first time, she wasn't smirking. She wasn't mocking me. She was scrambling. And I had just started. I underestimated her. After I served the court papers and watched her social media vanish, I thought Amanda was cornered. I thought the credit card freezes and anonymous package to the school would shake her enough to keep her down. I was wrong. Her response came fast, and it hit harder than I ever expected. It started with a phone call from my HR department. "Michael," my manager said carefully, "we received a report about you. A harassment complaint." My stomach dropped. "What?" "It's anonymous, but detailed," he said. "Says you've been unstable since your breakup, that you've been stalking your ex-fiancée, threatening her, even sabotaging her career. We're required to open an investigation." I hung up without saying much. I already knew who filed it. Amanda. She flipped the story. She made me the villain. Later that night, I got a message from an old friend of mine, Jason. We hadn't talked much since college, but we had a lot of mutuals. He sent a screenshot of Amanda's private story, the one I couldn't see. It was a wall of text. "She won't say his name," Jason told me, "but everyone knows it's about you." In the post, Amanda called herself a survivor. Claimed she'd escaped a controlling, emotionally abusive engagement. Said I turned vengeful when she left. That I was trying to ruin her financially and destroy her future. She even implied I had been physically threatening. No proof, of course. Just vague wording and hashtags. But enough. The comments were full of support. Friends, my friends, telling her how brave she was. How strong. How she was glad to be out. One of them even offered her a job referral. The job I tried to take from her? It didn't matter anymore. She got a different one. One that didn't care about morality clauses. And while I was picking up extra shifts to afford lawyer fees, she posted a picture of a new apartment. Fully furnished, hardwood floors, skyline view. And in the corner? The same sewer company hoodie I recognized from before. He was with her. She didn't just survive the hit. She evolved. She blocked me on everything, but mutuals kept forwarding things. New followers. New photos. A blog called Finding Freedom. My journey after escaping a toxic relationship. I read every word. She called me the manipulator. Said I used money to control her. That I isolated her. That I couldn't handle a woman with ambition. Every sentence burned. But the worst came a week later. I checked my bank account one morning and saw a charge I didn't recognize, nearly $3,000. It was an old emergency credit line we'd once shared, one she apparently never removed my name from. I thought I closed it. She maxed it out before I could. She left me with the debt. And legally, she was allowed to, because the account was never formally split. That was her power move. While I played careful and tactical, Amanda went nuclear. She didn't just try to win. She tried to flip the story, rewrite it so I was the villain and she was the hero. For a moment, it worked. People whispered when I walked into work. A friend stopped responding to my texts. Even my own mother asked me, "Did you really threaten her?" I didn't know what was worse, that Amanda was winning, or that I'd helped her build the weapon she used to do it. But I wasn't done. She might have taken the upper hand for now, but the war wasn't over. I stopped reacting. That was the first step. Amanda was everywhere. Her posts, her stories, her friends parroting her lies. She wanted me angry. She wanted a meltdown. She wanted to provoke me into becoming the man she was telling the world I already was. So I gave her nothing. No responses. No public rants. No texts. I let her play her part while I started rewriting the script behind the curtain. It started with a folder. I called it Reclaim. It lived on a hard drive, password protected, offline. Every detail about Amanda went in there. Her employment history, her spending patterns, every online footprint I could track. All legal. All documented. I had a friend from college, David, who worked in IT security. I asked for help, strictly digital footprint analysis. No hacking, nothing illegal. Just pattern tracing. He owed me from back in the day, and when I told him the situation, he didn't hesitate. What he found? Gold. Amanda had a Finsta, a fake Instagram. It wasn't under her name, but David cross-referenced usernames, tagged locations, and timestamps from her public profiles. The Finsta was full of trash posts, photos of the men she was sleeping with, captions mocking me. I quote, "Still can't believe I let that loser think he had a future with me." Another one. He cried when I left. Literally sobbed. How did I keep a straight face? I saved every screenshot. But it got better. One post, dated 3 months before I caught her, showed her on a vacation she told me was a company retreat. She was in a pool, holding a beer, kissing a man whose face was turned, but the work overalls were familiar. Her company retreat was a week in a Florida motel with a sanitation worker she'd met online. That alone could have buried her professionally. But I held on to it. I needed more. So I started digging through our shared storage unit. We had kept things there for the wedding. Old mail, legal documents, decor. I found a binder labeled loan apps. Amanda had taken out a personal loan 6 months before our breakup, in both our names. I never signed it. But the signature on the form matched mine. Only, it wasn't mine. Forgery. She faked my name to secure a $12,000 loan and spent it all before we even canceled the wedding. That was the turning point. With David's help, I traced where the money went, some of it to rent, but most to gift purchases. Jewelry, plane tickets, 2 new phones, one of which was listed under a man's name who had a court record for petty theft and drug possession. This was the man Amanda once called her escape. The woman who told the world she left me for freedom had financed her future with a fake signature and debt in my name. Now I had what I needed. I contacted a fraud attorney. She looked through the documents and said, "This isn't just petty. It's criminal. If this goes to court, she's looking at serious consequences." I smiled for the first time in weeks. Because for the first time, Amanda didn't hold the cards anymore. I did. I should have known she wouldn't go down without a fight. The day after my lawyer sent her the preliminary notice regarding the forged loan, I got a call from my building's front desk. A woman had left a manila envelope for me. No name, just the word important scribbled in black ink. I opened it upstairs. Inside were printed screenshots, a full compilation of every angry message I'd ever sent her. Some from years ago, some recent. Out of context, they looked awful. I wasn't violent, but I was emotional. Desperate. There were lines like, "You ruined me. I can't even sleep because of you. You make me feel like I don't matter. You make me feel crazy." Next to those screenshots, a letter from her attorney. Amanda was preparing to file a restraining order. The letter claimed I was engaged in a pattern of harassment, stalking behavior, and emotional instability. It cited the lawsuit, the financial digging, and, most painfully, my silence. She says your refusal to communicate is part of an intimidation tactic. My lawyer told me, eyebrows raised. She's flipping your restraint into a weapon. The worst part? She'd already filed a complaint with my employer. HR sent me another notice. This time, they were placing me on administrative leave pending an investigation. Amanda didn't just want to silence me. She wanted to isolate me, humiliate me, and then she went public. She did an interview, some mid-level podcast that ran relationship stories. It wasn't massive, but it was just big enough to sting. She told them about her journey, talked about narcissistic abuse, financial manipulation, and how she escaped an engagement built on emotional control. No names mentioned, but her followers knew. Our town knew. Her new job knew. And so did the host, because at the end, the interviewer thanked her by name. Amanda. I sat there listening to her voice lie, twist, and retell everything in a way that made her look like a warrior, and me, a monster. But she didn't stop there. I got another alert from my bank. My credit score had dropped nearly 90 points. Amanda had defaulted on the forged loan. She didn't make the payments, not a single one since I filed the fraud report. It hit my record first. She knew exactly how to time it. While I was preparing my case, Amanda had burned down the ground I was standing on. My employer, my name, my finances, my reputation, all under siege. For the first time since this war began, I considered giving up. What was the point? Every time I hit, she twisted it into more proof that I was unstable. She had the public, the sympathy, the image. I was the quiet man in the background, trying to scream underwater. But then, something happened. My lawyer forwarded me a document she found in Discovery. A bank statement Amanda submitted. It had a payment made to a private mailbox company in another state, a box under a fake name. A name we didn't recognize. A monthly auto draft from the forged loan. And that name? It matched one of the men in her photos. Amanda wasn't just hiding debt. She was hiding money, sending it out of state, possibly funneling it. Maybe not for love. Maybe for something worse. It was a tiny crack, but enough light leaked through for me to see. She was still playing dirty. Now I just needed to go lower. The turning point came from that one name. The mailbox account, paid monthly through the forged loan, was tied to a man named Eric Fields. I'd never heard of him, never seen his face in any of Amanda's public posts. But I remembered a grainy photo from her Finsta, a man in a basement holding a cheap bottle of vodka, wearing a sewer maintenance vest. His face was tagged with just one word, Daddy. Not a joke, a nickname. That's who Eric was to her. I gave the name to David, my digital bloodhound, and within 2 days, he traced the box to a town in Indiana. Eric Fields had a record, petty theft, obstruction, tax fraud. And now, he was tied to Amanda through a financial paper trail she created. But it got better. David found a link to an online freelance job platform. Guess whose name popped up under a fake profile that matched Amanda's email recovery info? Amanda had been contracting Eric under a false name, paying him as a consultant. Only it wasn't consulting. It was laundering. She was funneling the loan money through fake job invoices to a man she was sleeping with, a man who had already been investigated once by the IRS. The pieces clicked. Her sudden need for control over her image. Her panic when the loan was challenged. Her aggressive move to paint me as the villain. Amanda wasn't just trying to win a breakup. She was trying to hide a crime. I took it all to my attorney. This changes everything, she said, flipping through the documents. You're not just defending yourself anymore. You're blowing open a case. We filed an emergency motion to halt the loan collections, citing fraud, forgery, and suspected laundering. We attached the payment trail, screenshots, alias evidence, and Eric's record. And then we went further. We submitted a whistleblower report to the state's attorney general. Anonymous, but detailed. That same week, I did something Amanda never expected. I gave a statement to the HR investigator at my job. Calm, factual, paper-backed. I handed them copies of the forged signature report, the pending fraud case, and a signed affidavit from the bridal vendor verifying Amanda's deception. I never once badmouthed her. I didn't even mention the affair. I let the facts speak. Then I disappeared from public view. No social media. No comments. No friends contacted. I went completely dark. And that's when it started to unravel for her. First, a freeze was placed on the loan account pending investigation. Then her current employer, the one she bragged about online, received an inquiry from the State Financial Crimes Unit. I know because her HR team contacted me. A formal request for any documentation related to Amanda's prior employment, shared accounts, and spending patterns during our engagement. She wasn't just being investigated. She was being watched. And then, 2 days later, Amanda finally broke her silence. She showed up outside my apartment. I hadn't seen her in weeks. No makeup, no staged outfit, just a wrinkled hoodie and fear in her eyes. "You did this," she said, voice shaking. I didn't answer. I just held the door and waited for her to move. "You ruined my life." "No," I said quietly. "You did." Her eyes burned into mine. But the smirk? Gone. The superiority? Gone. For the first time, Amanda looked like exactly what she was. Exposed. She walked away without another word. I stood there watching her go. Not victorious. Not satisfied. Just calm. Because I knew something she didn't. The final hit was coming. And it would be the one she'd never see coming. I thought I had her pinned. For weeks, the investigation circled tighter around Amanda. Friends whispered about the sudden HR inquiries. Her blog went silent. Her Instagram deactivated. Even the man she was funneling money to, Eric Fields, scrubbed his accounts clean. I thought she was drowning. But Amanda had one last card to play. It came in the form of a letter from her attorney, not a threat this time, but a settlement offer. It was cunning. Amanda offered to settle everything, drop the restraining order, clear the loan, even cover half the wedding expenses I sued for. It sounded generous at first glance. It was worded carefully, with lines like "to avoid prolonged emotional harm for both parties." But buried in the fine print? A clause. If I accepted the settlement, I agreed not to pursue any future civil or criminal action against her for anything related to fraud, forgery, or financial misconduct. She wasn't offering peace. She was buying immunity. My lawyer broke it down for me at the table. "She's scared," she said. "But she's not stupid. If you take this, the criminal side dies. She walks." I stared at the paper. A part of me, the tired, exhausted part, wanted to sign. To end it. To crawl out of this mess and start over. But another part of me, the part she crushed under her heel that day behind the gas station, knew better. I rejected the offer. And then the media hit. I don't know who leaked it. Maybe a journalist sniffing around the public filings, maybe someone from Eric's past. But one day after rejecting Amanda's settlement, my phone blew up. The headline was brutal. "Local teacher under investigation for financial misconduct and alleged forgery." They didn't use Amanda's last name. But they mentioned enough: the private school, the loan company, the fraud accusations, that anyone who knew her would connect the dots. Her life burned down overnight. Friends unfollowed. Comments vanished. Her blog disappeared. And the job she had fought so hard to land? Gone. Terminated pending investigation. It should have felt like victory. But Amanda wasn't done yet. She pivoted faster than I could react. 2 days later, she posted a public statement through her lawyer, painting herself as the real victim, claiming the entire financial situation was a setup orchestrated by a bitter ex-fiancé trying to destroy her after an amicable breakup. The media, desperate for balance, ran both sides. Suddenly it wasn't woman exposed, it was he said, she said. And because the criminal charges were still pending investigation, not proven yet, Amanda found a way to frame herself as wronged. It worked. Not fully, not cleanly, but enough. Some people believed her. Some employers paused, but didn't blacklist her. Some friends drifted back. She wasn't back to the Amanda she used to be. She wasn't admired. But she wasn't destroyed either. She was surviving. Winning, even. And I was left sitting in my half-empty apartment, staring at the pieces of a life I didn't even want to remember anymore, wondering if this was as good as revenge could get. But then, an email, late at night, from an anonymous address. Subject line: "You need to see this." One attachment: a video file. I clicked it, and what I saw was the final weapon. The one thing that could destroy Amanda completely, professionally, legally, socially. It was all there. Real. Raw. Unforgivable. I didn't know who sent it. I didn't care. All I knew was the war wasn't over. Not yet. The file was grainy, timestamped 2 months before our breakup. It showed Amanda in a motel room. Not with Eric. With a different man, older, heavier, in a uniform from the city sanitation department. He set up a phone on the dresser to record. She didn't protest. In fact, she looked straight at the lens. She laughed. He asked her something I couldn't quite hear. She answered loud and clear: "My fiancé's paying for this room. Might as well enjoy it." My breath caught in my throat. This wasn't just betrayal. This wasn't just cheating. This was evidence of fraud, of malice, of intent. She had used me. This wasn't about falling out of love. This wasn't about confusion or growing apart or even temptation. It was strategy. She needed someone to pay for her lifestyle while she chased validation in alleyways and motels. And now I had proof. My lawyer saw the video and immediately set up a meeting with the district attorney's office. The fraud case was already open, but this was gasoline on dry wood. The ADA didn't smile. She just leaned back in her chair and said, "We can move forward now. You understand what this will do to her life?" I nodded. She could lose her teaching license permanently. She could be charged with forgery and financial deception. Her name could end up in state records, flagged for fraud. No job, no reputation, no fresh start. Everything she rebuilt, gone. I went home that night, stared at the flash drive in my hand. It would be so easy. I had spent months clawing out of the hole Amanda threw me into. She called me weak, pathetic. She laughed in my face, turned people against me, left me with debt, humiliation, and lies I didn't even know how to respond to. This was justice. Finally. But then, there was a knock at the door. I opened it. Amanda stood there. No makeup, no smugness, no posture, just red eyes and shaking hands. "I know," she said quietly. "I know what you have." She looked down. I never thought it would go this far. I was angry. Stupid. I didn't think you'd fight back. I thought I could control everything. Her voice cracked. "I'm not here to lie anymore. I did it. All of it. And I deserve whatever's coming." She dropped to her knees. "I'm begging you. Please. Don't end me." She didn't cry loud. She just sat there, hands gripping her own shirt, like she was trying to hold herself together. "I'll sign whatever you want. I'll pay it all back. Just don't ruin my life. Please." I stared at her for a long time, not as a victim, not as a man scorned, but as someone finally free. I knelt down next to her, held the flash drive between us. "You used me," I said. She nodded, unable to meet my eyes. "You ruined me." "I know. You laughed while I broke." She bit her lip to stop it from trembling. "I could bury you with this." "I know." Silence stretched between us. And then I stood up. I walked over to the kitchen sink, and I dropped the flash drive into the drain, turned on the garbage disposal. The sound swallowed the room. Amanda gasped, barely audible. But she didn't speak. She just looked up, tears running down her face, unable to believe I'd let her live. "You'll pay back the loan," I said. "In full." She nodded rapidly. "And you'll disappear from my life. Completely." More nodding. I walked her to the door. Opened it. She stepped out without a word. Didn't look back. And that was the last time I ever saw her. She thought I was weak. She was wrong. I was the only one who walked away with my soul intact. But if you were me, what would you have done?